Hi everybody, I'm Trin Johnson and welcome to Dust in My Eye. So my husband and I were walking along the beach and I was looking down at all the rocks because that's generally how I walk on the beach. And he said, look at that bird up on the rock over there. And he was sitting on these big rocks that people use to protect their cottages when the water's high. And it was a cormorant, and he just was sitting there. So I walked up a little bit closer to him, maybe 20 feet away, and took some pictures. And then we walked down the beach, and I said, I should get some video. So I came back and took some video of this cool bird. And I am going to paint him in pastels for you now. So I thought I would go ahead and use these Charvin pastels, water-soluble pastels that I did a video on the other day. I'll link that up in the corner. And use them to do an underpainting of this bird. I've got him up here on my phone, and I'm going to try and get him roughed in real quick. Okay, so I have it roughed in. I am not trying to duplicate exactly what I see. I am just trying to get a rough estimate. As the artist, we get to do things like that. So now I am going to do underpainting with these, and then use some water to, or maybe alcohol, I'm not sure, to smooth them out, and then we'll get started on the full-on paint. Okay, I am going to use a little alcohol and brush this out. Now if it's kind of drippy, that's okay with me. I like the drips. And you may have noticed I was not painting this, or I was not using local color. I wanted a color that I saw in the underbelly of the rocks or the bird. I wanted something that, a color I could see in kind of in the background. And that's what I was trying to find. Okay, now we're going to let that dry. It won't take very long because it's alcohol, and alcohol dries really, really fast. Did I get his beak? I think I did. Just going to do it a little more. Right there. Okay. Okay, I am back and it's dark outside. Finished dinner in between all this. And now I'm back to paint the bird. So I'm going to start with a very dark brown. And an even darker brown. And I am trying to keep it loose, not painting every feather, and not necessarily worrying about the color being exact. And I am going to speed this up so it's not ridiculously long. And let's go. So I'm just trying to get the darkest colors on the bird down first and get his general shape sketched in or roughed in. Trying a variety of browns. That will make it more interesting in the long run. And now I just want to get that beak in there, kind of as a reference point. Or a point of reference, I guess. Help me know where I am on the bird. And again, more grays, more light grays, more light browns, some dark browns. It's give a little, take a little, put a little back. Trying to get the idea of feathers without actually painting in feathers. I don't want to paint in every individual feather. That's not the kind of painting I want. I want it really loose and expressive. Lost and found edges. So I'm getting some of the lighter colors in the bird. And then I have to go back in and darken them up a little bit. Again, getting in the markers where the darkest parts are. Kind of under his wing. And where the top of his wing is. And it kind of meets his neck up there. And there's a lot of different colors in his feathers. It runs the gamut from dark brown all the way to a rusty pinky color. A little bit of yellow in there too, I think. Going back in to reestablish my shadows. And then I'm doing some more mark making to symbolize or to give the effect of feathers. I decided to do the bird first because that's where I really wanted to put my energy, and all the rocks weren't as important. They just needed to read as rocks. Again, trying to get the shadow in under that wing. I went through about half of the painting before I realized my phone was not at full normal brightness. It was dulled. So I turned it up a little bit and I could see it a little better. Now I'm working on his beak and his eye. And I resisted the urge to put a glint of white because his eye really wasn't reflecting anything. There's this little black orb. Now I'm going to work on the background a little bit and just kind of roughen in where the rocks are and trying to leave myself some lighter rocks. And again, it's a give and take between the dark with the light on it and the light with the dark on it. And there's a lot of little yellow bits in the rock face. You can't really tell it in the picture looking at it from the filming of the camera. It isn't, the colors are not anything the same. Now I could show you the picture at the end of the video, but or pop it up in the corner. It doesn't really matter. I don't really need him. I don't really need him to look exactly like he did in the picture, as long as it reads a bird sitting on rocks. That's all I care about. And again, it's the light on dark, dark on light, back and forth. I do want white around his head a little bit so you can really see him pop. The rocks were almost glowing around him. After we came back and I did a little bit of video recording of him, we walked a little ways more up the beach, sat for a few minutes, and then turned around and came back, and he was gone by then. I'm really glad my husband looks up when we're walking more than I do. I was painting at Stony Creek once, a low-hanging branch it's called. I'll try and remember to pop that in the corner. And there were a whole bunch of cormorants sitting in a tree. And I looked up at these birds and I thought, that looks like a duck sitting in a tree. It's got duck feet. They really do, and they just wrap them around the branches, these little webbed feet. They are really funny looking sitting in a tree, but they nest in trees. They don't have to. They can nest on the ground too, but they do go up there and perch. It looked like somebody's duck was just sitting in a tree. Odd, odd bird. But I have seen them in Michigan and I have seen them in Canada because they are native to both places, at least around here. I'm just trying to carve the rocks out and carve the bird out and have some lost and found edges on his back and wherever they happen to happen. Again, I want that loose feel. I'm not, generally speaking, I am not a realism painter. I don't paint realism. I'm not trying, well, realism, yes, not botanically. I don't know what the term is. I am not trying to make an exact copy of what I'm looking at. I prefer to interpret it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and it takes incredible skill. It's just not what I enjoy doing. Generally speaking, once in a while it's fun to mess around and try and get something really, really accurate. Now I'm just kind of putting some different greens up at the top. You could see the trees behind, and I just want to give that impression of there being greenery up behind the rocks, but I don't want it to fight with the rocks or distract from the bird. There's a little branch hanging out around his feet. When we walked back, I kind of looked where he had been sitting to see if he had a nest there or something. And there's a little bit of leaves and twigs and stuff, but I don't think it was a nest. Now I'm just going in and getting some details a little bit. Could get out pastel pencils or even Prismacolors or something like that. And I did have them sitting there, but I really didn't want to get that precise. I was trying to keep myself from doing that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just wasn't. I was afraid it would make me too tight. And I wanted to stay loose. Thought I'd get that bright spot of green up there. There's a tiny bit of green in the rock. And now I'm going back in for highlights. Make sure he looks like he's behind the rock, or on top of it, not in front of it. There's a little bit of green in the rocks. There's a little bit of blue in the rocks. There's a little bit of white, a little yellow. They were really interesting once I started painting them. It was hard not to get carried away on the rocks. Again, the top edge of the rock was very bright, and it was a nice contrast with the bird. And I did the same thing over in front of his chest. kind of carving out the tops of the rocks on the right hand side. The one in the middle was kind of stripy, and I was trying to get that effect. And now I'm trying to get the white bluey color that was almost like chalk on top of the rock looking. And I hadn't really done much to that top face of that rock that's behind that one. So I was trying to work on that a little bit. And the dark parts of this rock, or the shadow between the other rock. Okay, I think I'm going to call it done. There's really no shadow. Maybe just the edge of the rock where that comes together could work for that. It's because he looks kind of naked without one. I'm going to sign it over here. And if you enjoyed this video, if you got anything out of it, if you had fun watching, please give it a like. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe. And if you want to be notified of future videos, hit that cute little bell. And in the meantime, if you would like to, please check out my Etsy shop, where I have prints of my artwork, along with cute little monsters and some other fun stuff for sale. So until next time, thank you so much for watching.